There is a question that has echoed through centuries of spiritual inquiry: is evil obvious, or is it hidden? In a powerful narration from Haft Al Shareef, Abdullah is asked about Iblis, about the nature of his presence in this world. Is he apparent or concealed? The answer given is subtle and unsettling. He is apparent in incarnation form, yet hidden in knowing, apparent and hidden, visible, yet unrecognized, walking among people, yet unknown to them. The teaching suggests that the presence of corruption is not always dramatic, not always monstrous in appearance. It does not necessarily announce itself. It may wear ordinary faces. It may move in familiar spaces. It may speak in familiar tones, but its reality remains hidden from those who lack spiritual perception. The Master explains that the descendants of Iblis move among humanity. They mix with people while people do not truly know them. They are seen outwardly, yet not known inwardly. This distinction between seeing and knowing becomes the heart of the story. Later, the narrator, Mufaddal, recalls that his master had promised to show him something extraordinary: the reality of Maskh, a transformation not of flesh but of spiritual form. One day they arrive at a place called Qasr Al-Rabi near the graves. It is a place that naturally evokes reflection, a place where the illusions of permanence dissolve. Around them, people are coming and going, absorbed in their daily affairs, unaware of anything unusual. Mufaddal reminds his master of the promise. The master raises his hand and gently wipes it over Mufaddal's eyes. "Look," he says, and suddenly the ordinary dissolves. The people walking before him no longer appear as they did moments before. Their human forms seem to fall away, revealing something else, something symbolic, something startling. Many appear as animals: dogs, monkeys, pigs, foxes, other forms beyond these. Mufaddal is shaken. He asks who these beings are. The master replies, "They are the descendants of Iblis, mingling with people while in Maskh." It is important to pause here because this moment is not merely about literal transformation. It is about unveiling inner reality. Animals in sacred literature often symbolize traits. The dog may represent uncontrolled appetite or aggression. The monkey may symbolize mockery, imitation without understanding. The pig may represent indulgence without restraint. The fox may represent cunning deception. These forms are not random. They reflect qualities. And perhaps the vision granted to Mufaddal is not showing biology but character. For what if the soul gradually takes the shape of what it repeatedly chooses? What if behavior sustained over time imprints itself onto the essence of a person? The master then tells Mufaddal to close his eyes again. Once more he wipes them. Look, and everything appears normal. The people are human again, their faces familiar, their forms unchanged. What changed was not them but perception. For a moment a veil was lifted, then it was lowered again. This is a profound teaching. It suggests that reality has layers, that what we see with ordinary sight is not the full story, that there is an inner dimension to existence, one that reflects truth more accurately than outward form. The narration does not stop there. Mufaddal, now stirred deeply, asks a question that cuts to the core. Who are the humans? Who are the Jinn? Who are the devils? The answers redefine categories we often take for granted. The humans, the master explains, are those who have come to know Allah, those who acknowledge His oneness, those who recognize His chosen representatives and gateways. In other words, humanity is not defined merely by flesh and bone. It is defined by awareness, by recognition, by alignment with truth. To be truly human in this teaching is to awaken. The Jinn, he says, are those who vanish into human bodies and do not return. They are called Jinn because they are hidden, concealed, and the devils are those incarnated in the bodies of Maskh. These definitions shift the conversation from biology to spirituality. They suggest that identity is not simply what we appear to be, but what we embody. The graveyard setting becomes even more meaningful here. Among graves where every body eventually rests, outward differences fade. Titles, status, beauty, wealth all dissolve. What remains is the imprint of deeds, character, orientation of the heart. The narration leaves us with a subtle but powerful implication that repeated actions shape essence. If a person repeatedly chooses deception, does deception not become their inner nature? If one consistently indulges selfishness, does selfishness not carve grooves into the soul? If someone lives in mockery of truth, does that not shape their inward form? Maskh then can be understood as spiritual transformation, the gradual embodiment of qualities until they define us. And if that is true, then transformation is not sudden, it is cumulative. It happens choice by choice, reaction by reaction, thought by thought. But the narration is not only a warning, it is also a mirror, because just as negative qualities shape the soul, so do positive ones. If cruelty leaves a mark, so does compassion. If arrogance shapes the inner being, so does humility. If heedlessness transforms, so does remembrance. Perhaps the deeper message is this: we are always becoming something. The question is what? What form is my soul taking? If perception were lifted for a moment, what would be revealed? Would my inner state align with my outward claim? Would my humanity be evident not just in appearance but in consciousness? The Master's response defines true humanity as knowing Allah, acknowledging His oneness, recognizing divine guidance. Knowledge here is not mere information. It is recognition that transforms behavior. It is awareness that reshapes priorities. It is alignment that disciplines the ego. To know truth is to be shaped by it. And to ignore truth is also to be shaped, but differently. The narration ends quietly and peace. Perhaps because the ultimate goal is not fear, but awakening, not judgment of others, but examination of self. It invites reflection rather than accusation. For when Mufaddal saw those forms, he was shaken, yet he continued to interact. With those people in ordinary life, the veil had been lifted for insight, not for arrogance. This balance is crucial. Spiritual vision, if granted, is not meant to elevate the observer above others, but to deepen responsibility, to increase awareness, to refine the self. In the end, the story is less about identifying who is in Maskh and more about recognizing that the soul is not static. It is shaped and shaping, each day through our choices. We sculpt an unseen form, one that may not be visible to the eye, but is real nonetheless. And perhaps the most important lesson is this: before asking what others truly are, ask what you are becoming, because the unseen reality is closer than it appears. And peace.